Art is a powerful tool for dissent. It provokes constructive dialogue and creates space for debate. Authoritarian governments around the world recognize the power of art and systematically persecute, repress, or censor artists to silence political dissent. The Human Rights Foundation supports creative dissent by providing artists with various platforms and exhibition spaces to expand their reach. The Human Rights Foundation and Roskilde Festival present Art in Protest. Hear from 3 international artists who have been displaced because of their art. Meet the artists.
Now we can send mankind to the moon, and we can reach to the bottom of the sea. That's why it's really kinda baffles me that we cannot end wars and bring peace, and we cannot change the way people act, and we cannot change the way people think. So if we sit back, chill out and relax, civilization will soon be extinct. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. Come on people, would you help me? You want peace and I want peace. Stand up.
Oh, that was loud. Hello, everyone. Good day. Thank you for bracing the rain and the cold weather, and thank you for showing up to this panel, this conversation called Art in Protest. You were just presented to our 3 amazing, brave, important speakers and panelists today, Alireza, Natalia, and Emmanuel. I will be moderating this conversation. My name is Musam Shangama. I am an author, an activist, and a strategic advisor based here in Denmark. And before we dig into the conversation, I just want to preface it a little bit, because we're talking about art in protest. We're talking about art as activism. We're talking about art used as a tool for change and used to critique systems of oppression, authoritarian regimes, stuff like that. At the same time, we're sitting at a music festival that, while highly political, is also a lively space. It's a space where people are enjoying themselves. Some are drinking, some are partying, some are listening to music. And what we're doing here on this stage is maybe trying to focus in a little bit on a topic that is both deep, complex, important, and also maybe a little bit in contrast to a lot of the other activities that are happening here, even though this is a political venue and a political festival. Gathering 130,000 people is a political act in itself. And while the festival right now is being critiqued for being political, I think that highlights the importance of conversations like these, also in countries such as Denmark, where the idea of activism maybe is a softer version than the activism and the very specific work that you have done, all three of you, and have also paid a great price for. And so, Natalia, I want to start with you. In your context, having created a theater group in Belarus, why do you think art for you in that particular context is so important as a form of protest and as a tool for change?
Hello, everyone. I think it's like to create art of protest in Belarus and the dictatorship. It's like for you guys to stay here. It's like what you're doing here, it's already brave enough to stand under the rain and like in the middle of a mud. So it's very similar like, to be in Belarus underground, not knowing what expects you. And when you do theater in those conditions when your life, like every single person who is part of Belarus Free Theater, they went through jailing, protests, through losing jobs, losing education, losing families, but people continue to do that still. And it's not about, I guess, doing art. It's about like life. It's just for us to create theater means one thing is to continue to breathe. So this is the way how we are breathing, and this is the way how we're living. And the whole company had emergency exit in 2021 out of Belarus because everyone went to jail, everyone been kept in a cell. Like if you imagine the floor where we sit in now, like 12 meters, 36 women, no toilet, and in order for people to be able to change their angle, they will count 1, 2, 3, and they will sit. Then they will stay there for a few minutes before their legs get numb. They will count 1, 2, 3, they stand up. That are those conditions of artists in Belarus. It's just no space for breathing, but where you need to fight and where you need to live. And that's dictatorship, and it's in Europe. And this is the country that is co-aggressor of Putin, that opened its borders to attack Ukraine. And this is where thousands of political prisoners, and our friend, who is an artist, he was tortured to death and died in jail last year. We have dozens of people who are in Komunikada in Belarus. All of it is happening there. And I'm sure with guys, we will share a very similar experience. And it doesn't matter from where you are, whether you are in Europe, Middle East, Africa, there is no boundaries of violence and the desire of dictators to control the world. And this is where we as artists who have only morality and creativity were able to create that mind-blowing mix that put dictators into panic mode, and that panic mode at least make them to be scared of themselves. And that's, I guess, the moment to stop and continue.
Thank you so much. Emmanuel, I would like to continue with you. You have used music, you have used movies, spoken word. We will hear a little bit of your spoken word later on. Can you tell us a little bit about how that kind of storytelling through art is also not just highlighting stories, but also very specifically fighting oppression and creating positive change in your work?
I mean, everybody's a storyteller. If you look at kids, you can tell a story. If a kid is born in the environment, give them a pen and a paper. They'll draw what happened. For me as a kid, one of the things is, I used to be that kid that say whatever I saw. So the first time I experienced war, and a bomb dropping from the sky to the ground, people running different direction, and me witnessing my aunt being raped in front of me with my cousin. What I saw, whatever village I go to, I share. I tell what I saw. Sometimes adults don't want to hear it, but I found myself telling stories that way.
And how do you experience that? Because you have been on stages all over the world with your music as well. Those stories have reached a greater audience through your music, through your work. What does that mean for the stories that you are telling and for the freedom that you're fighting for and for the world that you're fighting for?
I mean, telling your own story, there's certain fears. First, who's going to believe you? What is going to happen? Who's going to believe you and what will happen? And what's going to happen to you? And will there be anything done about it? So now, the challenge I had to face to come and share my story to the world, I had to overcome my trauma first. A lot of people, some people don't know they have trauma, some knows they have it, some don't know how to help it. Coming to a peaceful environment, then you have nightmares, and then you have in the daylight, you have flashbacks of things happening in the past. So not just the story I was telling, okay, I became a child soldier. And how does that affect me? How do I overcome those memories? Imagine one point we were in a bunker and a bomb dropped outside. And as it dropped, a huge piece of metal just missed me over here when I just turned this way and it hit that spot. So now, when you go and tell that story, how do you feel next? And so I think what I can say, what drives me is the purpose. When you have a calling, something inside you that tells you, do this, and you ignore it, it will destroy you. You don't find peace in that. And so as a kid, I always wanted to be part of a solution. I wanted to be among the people who can make a difference. And then I discovered everything, my heroes, all their lives are stories. They went through hell, and one other thing that I came to realize is be careful what you wish for, because the universe will create the environment for you to be trained. As a kid, I wanted to make a difference. And making a difference, it put me into an environment that had to experience hell. The war that I experienced, all my aunties died during the war. All my uncles died during the war, from my mom's side except one. My dad's side, they're all gone. Then by the age of 7, I got recruited and I became a child soldier. So now, being able to overcome those memories through music, when I became a musician, I found a place that I could get lost. But my healing to allow me to tell my stories now with so much pain was first to be able to learn how to forgive, Because my desire as a kid, when I was trained, was to kill as many Muslims and Arabs as possible. But now going to school and learning about all of us are the same. Having Muslim kid, imagine you are in school, and a little Muslim kid became my friend. In my head, I was planning how I can take him to the bush and kill him. But the kid was nice to me. I said, if I kill him, then I'm not going to have any biscuits. because he gave me his biscuit. Nobody visited me in the boarding school except this kid. So his kindness made me ask questions. Why is this Muslim kid nice to me? Why are his family, when they come to visit this kid, treated me? So it changed it in my head. It allowed me to even question things. And through education, I was able to learn. And by learning different cultures, I was able to use that to help in my healing process, to let go and forgive so that I could choose this path of a conscious.
Thank you so much, Alireza. I would like to continue with you with the same kind of question of the importance of art as a form of protest, particularly in your case as an artist from Iran. Would you elaborate a little bit on
Well,
this?
the most important thing about art for me is it's immortalize the untold stories. It's keep the memory of those that have been unheard, because coming from some part of the world like Iran, that until today for queer people, for so many, but especially queer people, there's no way of expression. There are so many untold stories, and art becomes as a tool to capture these memories and show to the future what was the suffer of the past. And what is the most beautiful thing about art? It can bring people together because it gives them the joy of living the sort of desire that this expression, the feelings that they had, but they've never been able to capture it, to save it, to show it to the others. You know, it becomes this expression of those experiences. You also had it, and now it's physical, it's there, and it's gonna stay there. So the importance of art comes here, and it can bring change to the society, because I believe art touches the heart of the people. Is like a language that can be very effective of so many. And it becomes the escape from the brutal reality of life, and just give us this moment of assuring ourselves that we're gonna be heard, our stories is gonna be heard, and the change can happen. You know, it's bringing the voice, it's sharing the stories to those that they have a sort of power to help to change things. Because, you know, sometimes I think what would be the reason of like sharing these stories for European citizens, what they can do directly, a change for us. But thinking the power they have, this togetherness, the change they can make in their own country, and not taking things as the granted. You know, this is the most important thing, because, you know, losing the freedom is one step away from all of us, and that's scary. Just as a reminder, the art, what can do, can dig to the history, what we can not be aware of, what we can forget, and just as a reminder, bring it back, look where we have been. Let's not forget the suffer we gave to the queer community between 60s to 80s, and until today, we're one step away from going back there again, and no one wants to go back there. Let's not get it as a guarantee, and just let's use our vote, use our power to bring change. Also, you know, you can empowering the others, people like me that's arriving here as immigrants. You know, our life is very dependent to the power you have on your politicians. We are very affected with the political environment of your countries, and this is the most important thing. You can empower us. You can keep us in this safe land. You can guarantee for us the safety to be able to make a bigger change in our region, and that's the importance of art.
Thank you so much. I think that is such an important aspect as well, considering right now that specifically in Europe, but many, many places in the world, far right-wing nationalism is on the rise, and I think that has not just big, that doesn't just hold sort of important aspects for sort of the national storytelling, but it also, for a lot of minority people, will have very direct effects on their ability, on our ability to live freely within these countries. And I think that that sort of nationalist streak in many ways also questions our global solidarity. And I want to ask you, Natalia, in terms of that, in terms of the solidarity, and in terms of having Belarus as a part of Europe as well, as you were talking about, how can you, with the work that you are doing in the very, very heightened conflict in Europe that is going on, with the war as well in Ukraine, with such a big focus on rising tensions between Europe and Russia, how do you use theater and art to create maybe more of a European awareness around the issues that are facing Belarus in particular, the threats to artists in particular, but also in general to freedom of speech, to freedom of life, to freedom of humanity?
I think probably if we go back in 2005, it's like almost 20 years ago when we started, the first show that we did, it was 4.48 Psychosis by Sarah Kane. It was directed by our partner Vladimir Shervin. And Sarah Kane was a British playwright. And it was a very interesting story because when we went to different locations and we said we have a show, and every single venue that is run by the government, they will say, and what is the show about? And we will say, it's about sexual minorities, it's about mental issues, it's about bisexuality. And then every single time we will get the same answer. No, it's not possible for you to perform this show because in Belarus we don't have sexual minorities, we don't have any mental issues, we don't have suicide. So if people in Belarus will see it, it will happen to them. So clearly in Belarus, the whole queer community is fully prohibited. People beaten up, they're dying for hate crimes. Our filmmaker was one of those victims. And suicide, top 3 in Europe, alcoholism, top 3 in Europe. So it's kind of that whole idea of fear that is imposed by the government, and we've been trying to overcome that fear. It's funny that I'm now fighting with the rain and another sound check. So it's like, it's already a funny feeling that is created now. So it's interesting that it actually came from British playwright, and that's exactly what was prohibited. And then very quickly we went into staging personal stories. We will travel the world. We will meet people in Morocco, Nigeria. We went to the most horrifying illegal refugee camps. We went Rwanda, Uganda, talking about genocide. And we decided that it's not possible for us to talk about our country alone, because it's not possible to resolve the issue of Belarus if we talk only about Belarus without global context. And this is how we created the whole model of show will be always linked to political campaign. Even though living in the UK for the last 15 years, we are not allowed to say political campaign because then we will lose a charity status. So it will be human rights campaign. And if we talk about death penalty show, then we will have a major campaign that will be called Give a Body Back. because in Belarus, people who are executed, and Belarus is the only country in Europe where capital punishment exists, bodies are never given back to families. And the campaign will be linked to it. And at all major squares, capitals of the world, we will get into body bags and send those body bags to world leaders to transform society. So that was the way, and continue to be a way, how the company with theater and art will manage to go beyond theater and bring major human rights topic into the conversation.
And can I just ask you a follow-up question? Because you said that you cannot talk about Belarus alone. And I know that you're also working a lot with youth and with children. What does that sort of or talking about broader, complex, global perspectives and fights, what is your hope that will bring to future generations and to the young people that you are working with in how they see the world and how they will fight for a better world?
It was 2 years ago when my younger daughter, who is backstage, or actually front stage, yellow one, like 2 years ago we were in London in Hyde Park, and she said, "Can you imagine, I never told you before, but I only now started to get used when somebody is knocking into the door, it's just a postman in London, and it's not KGB or police came to arrest you or Nikolai, my husband." And I was shocked because I thought, like, we went through jail, yes, we went through torture, yes, KGB raided our apartment, yes, her grandfather died because of KGB raid, but we kind of thought that we've been keeping children away from that context, but children, they're children, so they're absorbing all of it, even out of the air. And of course, I reflected on many of our shows and many of our productions and documentaries, how we work with children, because for the last 4 years, we work with children refugees from Belarus and Ukraine. We run a major campaign that is called Letters of Hope, where we work, not us, but organizations with who we work on psychological support for children whose parents are in jail in Belarus or whose parents are tortured or killed by Russians in Ukraine. And when you think of it, you think, actually, like, we work with the future of Europe and the world. If we do not work with children now, it means we will have a major new generation of deeply traumatized people who will run Europe. And that's exactly the thing when we say, when people in Belarus or people in Ukraine, they're dealing with the future not of their countries, but with the future of Europe, it's exactly what we're talking about. It's about stability beyond borders of Europe. It's beyond even borders. I mean, it's beyond Europe. It's world stability, that future children.
I know, Emmanuel, that you're also working with children. You've also started a school. You're doing a lot of different projects. I want to ask you very briefly, because we don't have a lot of time left, and I also have another question for you afterwards, Alireza. Because Natalia also mentioned fear, and fear is a very, very powerful feeling. But you are also, I think, also in the work that you are working on with children, very much working with hope and creating hope as a way to counter that fear, as a way to counter that generational trauma, as a way to counter personal trauma as well, and the trauma that you were talking about in general. how do you work to create hope for the children that you're working with, for the new generations that you are engaging with, so that they and we might actually believe in a better future?
Well, just to pick on it, you need courage to do a lot of things. Even one of the greatest courage is courage to share what you have, because people are afraid they'll lose. There are people with billions of dollars in the bank account, they want trillions. There are those who have less and they're willing to share it. But simply for me, my desire, I wanted to be a part of a solution. And I want each one of you to picture me, an ex-child soldier. Somebody said, what is the role of the global village into anywhere? A British aid worker called Emma McCune rescued over 150 child soldiers. But I was the only one she smuggled on a plane and took to Kenya. She later died, but she changed the environment I was in, which also gave me an opportunity to exercise ideas that I wanted. Just to cut that long story, is from a child soldier, I became a recording artist, an activist all over the world, form a charity called Goa Africa that puts 17,000 children in school. Just picture that. And from there, also, recently, we funded over 200 women to start businesses. There's several projects that I'm doing, working with young people. What was given to me, I always want to give it back to somebody else. And most people would say, oh, change is difficult, I can't do this. What I'll say, look, if there's something you want to do, just do it. You know, and in doing it, you'll discover by doing it, you're actually saving yourself. I only realized years later that the desire I was having to make a world a better place has made me who I am. The most important thing is not achieving what you achieve. What really matters in life, whether you lose or not lose, is who did you become in that process. That's the gift you can give humanity.
I think, just to round off before we have to enjoy your spoken word as the final, a big part of our fight for better futures sometimes collides with the fact that we don't know the proper sort of expanse and the proper complexity of our past. So many stories have not been told, so many people have been silenced, so many perspectives have been forgotten, they haven't been written down in the history books, they have been just deleted from history. And so sometimes, especially in minority groups and marginalized groups, there can be this experience of having to start from scratch again and again and again and again. Alireza, a lot of your work, I think, very specifically is also documenting queer lives, queer Iranian lives, queer experiences, and not just saying, I was here, I am here, but we are here. We have been here, also historically. We will continue to be here. And when the future looks back, you cannot say that this was no longer documented because it was in your art. Can you elaborate a little bit on that power and also maybe on that responsibility? Not just for yourself, but for the community, for the world.
You know, there were many stories that there were very young queer people that they didn't have the privileges I had, they didn't have the chance I had. At some point, either they took their life or they've been killed. One of the things I always think, and I feel responsible, I say, if it was me, the only thing I wanted is that my story doesn't go, doesn't be buried with my body. So I feel responsible to capture that, to document that. But what is more important, you were talking about this hope and desire for the children, for the next generation. What the flame that is burning inside of me, what gives the reason to go through everything that can stop us, can fear us, is the hope that the next generation don't go through what we've been through. And I found that very important. You know, sometimes I feel under the oppression of this dictatorship that we're experiencing. We forget how would be the face of freedom, how would be the face, what is this image, what is the thing that we want to achieve, what are we fighting for? If we don't have an image of freedom, how we're gonna fight for it? You know, you're so busy with surviving. So coming to Europe, I had the chance to see this queer community that has certain freedoms to show it, to be openly, to be present. So I said I'm gonna share this image with people that they don't have that, just to give them this image to say, hey, this is the results, this is the goal, let's fight for it, let's stand for it. And this is why I'm asking all the Europe citizens, the Western citizens, do not fail us, do not step back. Whatever you achieve, just hold on it, because this can free the world, this can free the others. You are responsible.
I think that's a beautiful and also important way to end, with that very direct message as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, all three of you, for sharing your perspectives. We will round off with a bit of spoken word, with a bit of your art, Emmanuel, a piece called Forced to Sin. Please take this to the stage.
Awesome. Can you guys say it with me? Forced to sin. Say forced to sin. To make a living. Forced to sin. Forced to sin to make a living. Forced to sin. I want to hear you say forced to sin to make a living. Yeah? Forced to sin. Forced to sin to make a living. Forced to sin. Forced to sin. My dreams are like torment. My every moment. Voices in my brain of friends that were slain. Friends like Loa who died by my side of starvation. And the burdened jungle. And the desert plain. Next was I, but Jesus heard my cry. As I was tempted to eat the rotten flesh of my comrade, he gave me comfort. We used to raid villages, stealing chickens, goats, and sheep. Anything we could eat. I knew it was rude, but we needed food. And therefore I was forced to sin. Forced to sin to make a living. Forced to sin. Forced to sin. Forced to sin to make a living. Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up. Never give in. Left home at the age of 7. 1 year later, I lived with an AK-47. By my side, slept with one eye up and wide. Run, duck, play dead and hide. I've seen my people die like flies. But I've never seen a dead enemy, at least one that I've killed. But still as I wonder, I won't go under. Guns barking like lightning and thunder. As a child so young and tender. Words I can't forget, I still remember. As a sergeant command, raising his hand, no retreat, no surrender. I carry the burn of the trauma. War child, child without a mama. Still fighting in the saga. Yet as I wait this new war, I'm not alone in this drama. No, sit or stop. As I reach for the top, I'm fully dedicated like a patriotic cop. I'm on a fight, day and night. Sometimes I'm doing wrong in order to make things right. It's like I'm living a dream. First time I'm feeling like a human being. The children of Darfur. Your empty bellies on the telly, now it's you that I'm fighting for. Forced to sin, forced to sin to make a living, forced to sin. Let me see your power sign, everybody. Let me see your power sign. Let me see your power sign. Each one of us here has got power to transform their lives, their family lives, their neighborhood, their country, and the world. Let me see your power sign. Put it up. Put it up. Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up. Never give up. Never give in. Never give up. Never give up. Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for sharing your art. Emmanuel, Natalia, Alireza, thank you for being here and sharing your perspectives and your important work. Please continue to support not only these people, the fights or the causes that they're fighting for, but every single artist who's fighting oppression, who's fighting authoritarian regimes, who's fighting for freedom of speech. Thank you so much, and take care and stay safe.
Thank you for standing in the rain. Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you.